For today, I want you to get this topic that we call squaring a binomial. And in squaring a binomial, what we have is a binomial. This is a binomial because we've got two terms and separate by plus, and it's being squared. And you saw yesterday that you got x plus 5 all squared. That's a binomial being squared. You could write it as x plus 5, x plus 5. And that's using the FOIL method. You would then solve it. You'd go first, it's x squared, outer, it's 5x, inner, it's another 5x, and last would be 5 times 5 is 25. You gather your like terms, and you would get your answer. And that's using the FOIL method to square this binomial. But there is a faster method where you can go from x plus 5 all squared straight to the answer. To explain that, I'm going to look at this. This is a binomial. It's the addition of two values. And someday you might have to multiply one by itself. How do we want to do that? If you imagine two lines of length A and length B, the binomial's combined length of these lines. Solving A plus B squared is like finding the area of this big square. The square can be cut into four pieces. And this would be the square A and A. Here's a rectangle, which is A times B, another rectangle, A times B, and then lastly, the square B and B. And we know that for the area of the square, it would be A squared, side squared. Area of a rectangle is its length times its width. There's another one, length times its width, and this square is the side squared. So if I could take all of these pieces together and put them together, I would have A squared plus AB, it's another AB, plus a B squared. And that would come down to A squared plus 2AB plus B squared. Similar to this. I could take this and I square it, and then I have two of these outer and inner, so there's two of those, and then the last, I would get this answer. So it might be a bit confusing. Let's work through some examples. There's certain steps that you can use to square a binomial using it a lot faster than this writing it out using FOIL. Let's do it fast. First one is square the first term. So if it's x plus y all squared, square the first term, x squared. Then we find plus or minus twice the product of the two terms. Well, if I take the product of these, x times y is xy, and we say twice the product of that, then I get 2xy. And then the last step is you add the last term squared. And we'll get onto the thing about pluses and minuses. When you do plus and minus, why is it always plus the last term squared in a moment? But for now, what we saw is that we took the first term and we squared it. We had plus or minus twice the product of these two. X times y is xy, and there's two of them because it's this one and this one, twice the product of the two terms, and then it's the last term squared. We can write that in shorthand using this. Term 1 squared plus or minus twice the product of the two terms plus the last term squared. It's a saying you need to learn off by heart. If I wake you at 2 o'clock in the morning, I want you to hear, how do you square a binomial? First term squared plus or minus twice the product of the two terms plus the last term squared. Do another one. Here's another example. X plus y all squared. It's a binomial being squared. So take the first term and square it, x squared. Then take twice the product of the two terms, x times y is 5x. So twice that, double it, is plus 10x. And then it's always plus the last term squared. 5 squared is 25. So that was quick. X squared 10x plus 25. I want you to pause the video. Once you've written the heading, squaring binomial, I want you to copy this example into your book. You don't need to draw the picture, but copy this as well as your steps and the shorthand. Once you're done, unpause the video and let's keep going. So here's another example. 3a minus 7 all squared. It's a binomial because there are two terms, and it's been squared. Instead of writing it out, we can just say it's the first term squared, with 3a squared is 9a squared, plus or minus twice the product of the two terms. In this case, the product of them is going to be 7. Negative 7 times 3 is negative 21. Negative 21 doubled, twice it, is negative 42a. And the last term squared, negative 7 squared, with negative 7 times negative 7, is positive 49. So it's 9a squared minus 42a plus 49. Now, I'm going to show you something about the signs in a moment. So don't copy this example. But look what happened here. This is a plus. And so when I find twice the product of them, x times 5 is 5x. Double that is 10x, but it's positive because this is positive. And when I find this last term plus the last term squared, it's always plus because positive 5 squared is positive 25. In this example, negative 7 squared is still positive 49, and negative times a negative is a positive. So the last one is always positive, plus the last term squared. Because here, it can be plus or minus. In this case, they're positive, so 5x times 2 is 10x, positive. Here, it's negative. So if that sign's negative, watch what happened. Negative 7 times 3 is negative 21a. Double that, twice it, is negative 42a. So in this example, look here, it's positive. So what happens if term 2 is positive? Think for yourself, we've just gone through it. X plus 4 all squared will be the first term squared, x squared. Plus, now because that's plus, so it's going to be plus x times 4 is 4x. Double that is plus 8x. And the last term we said is always positive because that shouldn't be a negative. Sorry, please fix this when you copy the example. 4 squared is 16. Take the last term and square it, and it's always plus 16. Write your answer. But now, because this is negative, in this example, what happens if the second term is negative? Still, first term squared is x squared. Now, plus or minus, because this is the minus, your answer is going to be a minus. Because negative 4 times x is negative 4x. Double that, twice it, is negative 8x. So if a term is separated by a negative sign, then the middle term is going to be negative. And then the last term squared, negative 4 squared, well, negative 4 times negative 4 is still positive 16, plus the last term squared. It's always going to be plus. And you can write your answer. Right. You can do the last example. You're going to copy this one into your book, but let me explain it first. 2x minus 3y, we have a binomial being squared. So it's first term squared, 4x squared. Is this going to be positive or negative, my middle term? Because this is negative, my middle term is going to be negative. Because negative 3y times positive 2x, negative 6xy, negative 6xy doubled becomes negative 12xy. And then it's always plus the last term squared. So negative 3y times negative 3y is positive 9 squared. Pause the video and get down this example. And there's a bunch of questions here. These are all squaring binomials. Each one of these has two terms separated by a plus sign, and it is being squared. You can pick a couple of random questions to test yourself. You don't have to do this worksheet, and I'm not putting up answers for it. But if you come across something that you battle with, take a photo, upload it to me in your classroom, and I can see if I can help you. Keep working hard.